And I'm Keon.
And this is Inevitable, that podcast where we don't change our name when we take on a new identity, because this week we watched Exposed.
Written by Tony Barwick.
Directed by David Lane.
And aired on September 23rd, 1970.
Nice.
So UFO,
I don't know why I just said nice.
Maybe because we didn't mess up the intro too badly. I don't know. UFO finally exposes itself for what it truly is.
Which is what?
A 50-minute snooze fest. Not really.
I was just like, I didn't think that this episode was that boring. Okay, sure, maybe they stretched the plot out to twice as long.
15-minute episode. Okay,
yeah, maybe they stretched out the plot twice as long as they actually had plot for. Fine, I'll give you that one. But I don't think it was all boring. I think there were some interesting things, some interesting world-building elements being introduced in this episode, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that boring either. I don't know why I'm being so harsh towards it. And the episode definitely got better as it went on. I did feel towards the beginning that, maybe for the first 20 minutes, it was just like, oh, okay, all right, get on with it type thing. But yeah, they kind of redeemed it as the episode went on. And we're introduced to a character who seems to be one of the more major players here, Colonel Paul Foster.
Or at the very least seems like he's going to be a recurring character, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me go to the Wikipedia table here, because they have how many episodes everyone is in. He's in 21. Well, yeah, he's in the second most.
He's a major player then.
Straker, yeah. All of them except 5, because there's 26 total.
Yes, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, and he's the main character of this episode. He's really the one we're following, the one we're sort of rooting for, since he's basically being gaslit by all the other main characters.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because last week the episode was definitely kind of from Straker's point of view almost. We start the episode with Straker proposing Shadow to the British government, and we basically follow Straker the whole episode. So. And Straker is someone who's on the inside of Shadow, so we kind of see a very rosy picture of Shadow. This week, maybe we don't necessarily see, the most negative view of Shadow, but at the same time, we're seeing an outsider's view of Shadow, and it's that for that alone, this episode is quite interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that while watching. I was imagining, what if this was the first episode, and what if the show kind of introduced Shadow to you in this way with Foster kind of peeling back the layers and discovering what's actually going on. And it's no surprise they didn't do that, because you'd probably not be very endeared to Shadow or anyone working for it in that case. But at the same time, I don't know, I felt it was just interesting to think about. Since in a way there's almost no drama to this, because exactly what's happening at pretty much every stage until they kind of they do a little 180 on you at the end. Yeah,
they pull the rug from you at the very end there, just we surprise.
Yeah, just to preempt everything here, I guess, to get way ahead of ourselves. Did you see the little twist at the end coming where everything was just a test?
I mean, I knew that they were going to offer him a job at the end of the episode. I didn't see that, I didn't see that this entire episode was going to be planned out in some sort of hilarious Master-esque scheme.
Yeah, some prisoner, esque, this is Patrick McGowan getting owned for week 7 into the Prisoner or something like this.
Yeah. Now that you say that, there is a sort of weird Prisoner esque feeling to this episode.
Yeah, especially with the co-pilot's sister being in on it. Just that fact, it rings heavily of the Prisoner, where like every time he'd like vaguely fall in love with the female lead of the episode, and then they just, you know, he just gets smacked down and put in his place. Yeah. Yeah, I was in the same boat though. Like I didn't see the fact that it was all planned out coming, but it was pretty obvious that they were gonna offer him the job at the end. Or like halfway through the episode, you know, you go like, okay, he's gonna join Shadow. Would kind of suck if he didn't, if he just like went through all of this and they just, I don't know, Men in Black like erased his memory. Straker hands him, you know, the card at the end, except it's not actually a card, it's just like a memory erasing device. God, that shouldn't be as funny as it is.
It's funny because it would be like, wow, like that would suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would just like completely undermine the entire rest of the episode to just be like, well, Lamau, you know, like it was all for nothing. Like,
guys, 10 years of his life chasing after UFOs, chasing the ghost of Shadow, the shadow of Shadow, just gets his memory erased.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for going after UFOs. I realized also watching this week that they're saying the reason why I kind of find the way they say UFO funny is because they're saying it the same way that they used to say Muto on
oh my God.
On Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome for putting that information into the world, I guess.
Or like the mutoids on Blake 7 or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's because, well, they actually do it now, unfortunately, because British accents are getting more Americanized, but like back then, there was no like T flapping in British English. So like they would actually say,
what even is that word?
Like, it's like in it's a speech pattern in American English, where it's like the quickest way I can describe it is like the words ladder and latter are pronounced exactly the same. Right, where you voice that sound. So like Americans just say ladder for both of those, but British people don't. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So like for example, they would say muto versus, you know, we, or I guess I, since you're South African, would just say muto. Just filthily slurring our words, I guess, or something like this. So, anyway, whatever.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
What is here and there is a UFO attack. That's how this episode begins.
Yeah, episode opens with a Muto attack and also like an 8-minute 8-minute like title sequence. So we get the regular title sequence and then we have a cold open, then we get the title sequence, then we get more information in the episode, then we get the UFO title card, then we get people's names. It was just still going on 8 minutes into the episode, which, you know, I'm not saying is a bad thing. I just thought it was kind of funny that like the episode after the title card, I'm like, okay, so we're really going to get going now. And then I see like people's names coming on screens, like Ed Bishop as Commander Drake, and I'm like, what? So I checked the timestamp, and it's been like fully 8 minutes at this point.
But it seems like that's how every episode is going to be, because that's how the first episode was as well, where you get the musical intro, right, with the, you know, what you typically think of as like a TV intro, and then like or at least from this era. And then you get, like, a few minutes later, they show you, you know, the title card, you know, the letters UFO, sort of a snake onto the screen.
Right.
A snake, I say, it's like the most right-angle traveling snake in existence. God, that would be so imagine a snake that only travels at right angles. That would be so unsettling.
So, like the video game Snake.
Oh yeah, it's true. Or like an Etch-a-Sketch, you know, if you're not very good at using one. Can't believe I even know what that is. Yeah. can't believe I even know what that is. It's such an old...
What, an Etch-a-Sketch?
Yeah, it's such an old toy. I guess it's a toy.
Etch-a-Sketches were a thing when we were kids. I mean,
I know,
we were like on the
final...
very tail end of the Etch-a-Sketch being a sort of major or even notable thing. But like it was still in our lifetime.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, okay, so it's actually a couple different UFOs attacking, and a couple of them get intercepted by Moonbase. But Moonbase apparently just sucks, freaking scrubs. They let one through. It gets into Earth's atmosphere, so they deploy Sky 1.
Yeah.
Piloted by... Oh, God, what is his name? Carlin? Yes,
yeah,
Peter
Carlin.
Yeah. In one of his 6 appearances.
Nice. Getting that paycheck to show up for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm. But there's a problem. There's like a commercial plane in the like zone where they're planning on intercepting the UFO. Straker gets on the phone with them like multiple times. He's like, "Hey, you guys can't be there. Leave." And they basically just go like, "Yeah, all right, whatever, dude."
Well, it's not a commercial plane; it's a test plane, you know.
Yeah, it's a test plane.
Those are vastly different classes of plane there.
Yeah, they're testing like some. They're testing some sort of like I guess plane that's going to be used for the military or something.
I'm just imagining them like they're picking up the phone and it's like, "This is Straker, like you can't be there," and they're like, "Straker, the film executive, like buzz off."
Yeah, I know. Like this episode made me realize how awful of a cover like a film's production company is for Shadow Beast, because like they have to have like public output, you know, like they're very much in the limelight of like probably everyday people know what what's their like cover name? It's something Straker Studios or something.
something like Straker Studios or something.
It's like Harlan Straker. That's not exactly what it is. It's something along those lines. And it's like, damn, they actually have to be putting out
Straker Studios.
Yes, that's what it is. And it's like, damn, they actually have to be putting out movies, don't they?
I know.
What is the point of this cover?
NATO NATO covertly funding the production of movies.
Yeah.
It's also hilarious because, like, in a way, they kind of need to actually put out good movies. Like, if they just put out flop after flop for, like, 5 years, people are going to be wondering how they still have the money to be solvent.
I know, it's basically like, when you get into the nitty-gritty of, like, how this operation is actually probably being run, it's barely even a cover. Like, it's literally not a cover. They actually have to be putting out movies for this to work.
It's a business they need to run on the side.
Yeah.
Like, does Straker get any sleep ever?
No. That's why he went prematurely white. Not really. He's just a very, I guess platinum blonde, but...
You call that platinum blonde?
Yeah, yes.
Interesting.
I think we talked about this last week, but he's wearing... Ed Bishop is wearing a wig in certain episodes and not in others. I think
this is a wig episode. I mean, I assume the first 3 produced episodes, because I think it was only like 3 weeks that he wasn't wearing a wig.
Mm-hmm.
And this was produced 5th.
Yes.
So, like, I would theorize that this is a wig. I honestly, like, that I wasn't even looking close enough to see if it was a wig. Was like not at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, it definitely looks noticeably different than how it did in the last episode. And yeah, we should mention again that we're watching these in ATV order, which is why we're watching this one second. So, even though it was produced,
we're also watching these. We're watching these through IMDb TV.
Oh, I'm not.
Which has them. Well, I am.
Okay. Just to clarify,
I don't know. I don't know if where you're watching them has this then, but the IMDb TV ones are like the HD rescans of the original film. So this is in like 1080p HD.
Yeah, I guess I should just start watching them in that way then.
Yeah, these look really good. Like they did an HD remaster a couple years ago. I remember reading about this last week when we were reading production stuff, and yeah, it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're watching these in ATV order. Pretty sure this is a wig.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, the people piloting the plane don't listen, and the UFO appears, and Carlin strikes it down, smites it with the power of God.
Not before the test pilot planes snap some sick pics of the UFO.
Yeah, because little do they know that Colonel Paul Foster is aboard.
Little do they know that the like biggest thorn in their side was on this plane.
I know, this guy's been investigating UFOs for like a decade at this point. They don't reveal that until like maybe halfway through the episode, and like they just drop it in like a very nonchalant manner. And you're like, oh my god, this guy has been obsessing over UFOs for 10 years. He's done this before. What he's going through in this episode, he's done before.
It's like so incredibly inconvenient for Shadow that the one man, but probably the like one test pilot in their entire corporation or in the entire military who's been investigating UFOs religiously for the past decade happens to be on this exact flight.
Right. Well, the result of this attack is that one of the pilots dies, and the other one, who again is Foster,
yeah.
He's left alive to continue to foster his UFO obsession here.
Wow, very funny. Nice. 10 out of 10.
He wakes up in a hospital. He's temporarily blinded. We learn later that this has been induced by Shadow. Freaking villainous move here.
Well, yeah, again, we're seeing this whole episode from Foster's point of view, and Shadow really seems like the villains here. I mean, this is Dr. Fraser, I believe, who's just like, yeah, you know, it'll pass soon. It'll be a couple days probably, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Because he wakes up in the hospital and he's sort of wearing these, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're like...
tanning goggles,
yeah,
almost.
Yeah. And they sort of fill him in on the situation. He was the only one left alive of the two, and, you know, he's been in the hospital for a couple days, and he's going to have to stay there for a couple more days. The next scene, this is probably just me, but in the very next scene, I didn't recognize Foster, like, from one scene to the next because of the goggles, because of the glasses. Until halfway through the scene, I realized, oh my god, it's the same guy as that we were watching in the hospital. I guess he just looks very different when you can't see his eyes or something. But yeah, he goes back into work, and he's discussing things, boss. He's like, you know, I know what I saw. I saw a UFO. I'm 100% sure of it. And this is where the real, like, sort of gaslighting begins in full. Where they just kind of, you know, his boss, whose name I'm forgetting, is it Kofax. It's Kofax, yeah. Yeah,
it's Kofax.
Kofax is like, you know, Foster, I think you deserve some time off, you know, some time to rest, and put your mind at ease. And he's just like, oh my god, you don't believe me, do you?
Kofax has some hilarious exposition dialogue here, where he just, he's like, Paul, you're a pilot. You're a test pilot. And I have a note here that's like, Paul, you're a pilot. An exposition, I mean test pilot. Yeah, not an exposition dump, a test pilot. Yeah. Paul takes the time off reluctantly, because what is he going to do? Be like, no, boss, like, screw you, I'm going out there and flying those planes.
He insinuates that, Koufax insinuates that if Foster pursues this line of investigation, he's not going to be able to work in the industry anymore. No one will hire him.
He'll never work in this town again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he takes the time off, but he uses the time off to continue the line of investigation regardless.
And then we get Straker in a scene that, you were thinking about, like, what this episode would have looked like if it was the first episode, and we get a scene here that's almost as if this is the first episode, where Straker just, like, casually exposition dumps again that their cover is a film studio, in case you forgot from last week, because he says something like, he's talking to Freeman, and he goes, Freeman, I gotta go do my job. And Freeman's like, you are doing your job, you're running Shadow. And he's like, no, I need to go show my face as a top film executive so we can maintain our cover as a film studio.
Yeah, that's actually just how people talked in 1970. They just used a lot of exposition. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, how would you know?
Well, so Paul isn't giving up. He winds
Obviously.
up. He winds up. I don't know exactly what this was. Maybe this scene deserved a little more exposition than it got. Like, he winds up on a plane, and on the plane he's talking to sort of a almost a psychiatrist. I don't know. I really just don't know.
This was he basically demands from Koufax the film from the film that he shot
right
in the plane. Man, so much of this episode would have been harder for Shadow to cover up if digital cameras had been invented. But he demands the film because he believes that on the film are pictures of the UFO. And so this guy is like, I think, part psychiatrist, part like film developer. Because they're on the plane, and he's like, "Sir, you wanted to see the film," and the assistant puts the film on display, and Foster is shocked to learn that presumably, according to him, that somebody doctored the film to remove the UFO from it.
Yeah, it's either that or he's just a terrible shot and didn't get it in the first place.
So,
meanwhile, this guy who is later on revealed to be Douglas Jackson, I'm seeing here on the cast list, Shadow Medical Officer. But anyway, this guy is like just completely messing with his mind in various ways. We don't need to go too into detail on that, but it's just, in a couple different ways. And then when he tries to resist, what's-her-face, C, who's sort of just, she appears to be like sort of a flight attendant, but later on in the episode she is also revealed to be a member of Shadow.
Those pesky Shadow people, they have agents everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he tries to resist and she puts him in like a little headlock.
Yeah.
This is also the scene, I think, where we learn that Foster has been at this for like a decade, basically. Like, he's been on the trail of UFOs for a long time. And he's, in fact, done similar things to what he's doing in this episode before.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we actually learn that in the next scene when the dead test pilot's sister shows up and is like, "Why did you kill my brother?" Yeah,
this was so awkward, especially because of her acting, I guess, which is really it's multi-layered for a lot of these characters, including her, because their characters in the episode are playing roles, right? So, so basically, what happens is Foster he goes back to his place, his apartment or whatever, and I think he realizes that someone has entered without someone has entered his apartment, so he kind of like, he does like a little combat roll or something inside. Maybe this was just me, but his apartment just looked like a set. Like, it just looked incredibly set-like. Like, it didn't look like somewhere where someone would ever live, to the point where I didn't even realize that was his apartment for a couple minutes. Which I guess is on me, but hey. Anyway, yeah, he breaks into his own house, finds out someone else has broken into his house. I guess it's more of an apartment, but yeah, it's like you said, it's the sister of the guy who died, supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly. And she's like, why'd you kill my brother? And he's like, I didn't kill your brother. They killed your brother. And she's like, who's they? And he's like, the people who don't want us to know about UFOs. And she's like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, and this is where Paul goes full conspiracy theorist. He reveals his past investigations of UFOs. He reveals past documents of, like, the government denying UFOs. He's like, why would they deny it so heavily? I'll tell you why. It's because they exist.
And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, why else would they deny it so vehemently? And he's like, and she's like, well, I guess. And I'm like, really? That convinced you?
Yeah, we find out later that you know, why she is so cooperative with him, I guess. She's not even the dead guy's sister. Like,
yeah, spoilers.
Just that fact alone, more so than anything, just the emotional manipulation of that character that she's playing. God damn, Straker. Anyway, she sort of becomes his confidant in all of this. She sort of, becomes the one person he can rely on, seemingly. Even though that's not even really true.
Yeah, it's a lie.
So, Paul Foster, snooping as usual, I see, just decides to, remember that meme from 20 years ago?
Yeah, wow, nice. Good.
It's not that old, it's actually more like 15 years old. But, he decides to break into someone's office, I don't even know who, and get some special files or something.
It's Koufax's office.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
yeah. Because he's trying to see if the original film, the undoctored film, is in in Koufax's vault.
Right. It's not even it's more like just his filing cabinet. It's like,
well, no, the key to his safe is in the filing cabinet, which, like, why? Why?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, he goes in the filing cabinet. He opens like a little compartment in the wall or something.
Yeah, cracks that bad boy open,
and he steals whatever's inside, and they go and watch it. And he's like, "Damn, they doctored this footage too."
Or just like, you know, or just he didn't see UFOs. Like, why is he so...
He's very sure of himself is the thing. He might have seen them, but he might have just not been, like, captured them on film like he thought, you know?
I mean, maybe. There's also, at some point in this episode, I think it's the psychiatrist filmed guy on the phone who gives, like, the worst possible explanation for what Foster might have seen, which is that, like, the light reflected off of his instrument panel and then refracted through the visor, so it looked like a UFO. Like, what?
Yeah, even further contributing to it was just a prank, bro, like, moment at the end. Well, so Paul then gets attacked. He's doing a little more investigation. I think it's in his apartment or something, and some guys break in and beat him up.
Did you find one of these two guys' outfits just like so hilariously ITV 70s low budget? It's the guy's got like the Beatles bowl cut and he's wearing like the circular sunglasses. It's like so hilariously 70s. He's got a cream colored turtleneck.
Yeah, he's basically like one of those guys who beat up number 6 on The Prisoner, like on a couple different occasions, right? Like he'd just get ambushed like out in the woods and it'd just be like some random dudes beating him up. But no, this was actually Straker and Freeman like in disguise. No, I'm kidding.
I honestly was about to believe you. I was like, I would believe that mop top guy might just be like Straker in a wig, you know?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It might have been. Shadow seems to be pretty short-staffed when it comes to the people who actually matter. That's actually not true. I just made that up. But yeah, maybe this was just Straker and Freeman, like just in wigs and glasses.
Just beating up the new recruit.
Yeah. Hey man, hazing.
I guess.
This whole episode is just hazing for Foster, basically.
So like, Foster gets knocked out, and then he wakes up as the alleged sister comes back. I don't remember the sister's name. The alleged sister comes back into the room, and I'm like, wow, like how long was she gone? Like she was just going to get coffee, and in the time she was gone to get coffee, two guys entered the room, assaulted Foster, knocked him out, and left. And then Foster was fully knocked out until she came back.
My interpretation of all of this was that it was taking place over like multiple days. I guess you had a more compact time span in mind.
Well, yeah, because before she leaves the room, she says like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go get some coffee or something." And I wouldn't assume it would take her like 3 days to go get coffee, right?
Why not?
Right? I don't know. What kind of like a terrible what kind of terrible person takes 3 days to get coffee?
Someone who's not actually the sister of your dead co-pilot and is putting you through like the I guess gaslighting experience of your life. That's who.
But imagine if he hadn't been assaulted. Imagine he would just be sitting there for days.
Exactly.
Just like where is her? Like where is she? Where is she with the coffee?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Well, okay, so I forget how, but oh yeah, so Foster identifies Straker in like an old image.
Yeah, it's an image of the crash.
Yeah. Or like right.
Or it's an image after the crash from the last
episode. I thought it was
episode.
right before the crash, but whatever it is.
Well, it was a picture of it was a news article after the crash. There we go. I don't know when the picture was from, but the news article was talking about the crash.
And so this is how he kind of puts two and two together, and he decides to set up a meeting with Straker.
Yeah, because for some reason Straker decided to use his original name.
Yeah,
when he became after this crash.
Yeah, he didn't really hide his identity in any way. And you just
do you think just like anybody could figure out that Straker, the film executive, is the same Straker as the the colonel and can just show up and be like, "You're a colonel, weren't you?" And Straker would be like,
Well,
you got a job."
well, I mean, that's exactly what happens in this episode. Foster isn't a complete nobody because he's a test pilot, but like, he's basically as close as you can be to a nobody and be like a main character on UFO. So, yeah, basically.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, we see like a somewhat humorous scene with Straker, darkly humorous, I guess, because like he's talking to Freeman, and he's just like, "Yeah, got an appointment with Paul Foster," and you just see him like holster a gun. Freeman's like, "What are you gonna do with that?" And he just doesn't respond.
Yeah, Straker, what the heck, man?
Another very clear, reason why this maybe wasn't the first, episode or something. Anyway, Straker meets Foster on a film set. You, as the audience, are not entirely clued into the fact that this is a film set for a couple seconds, like up to a minute. And you're just like, wow, why is the town like fully deserted? Like, why are the streets of London empty? But it turns out it's just a highly detailed replica. Pretty meta, if you ask me.
This is yeah, when they meet, Foster's like, "Is that gun real?" And Straker just shoots him in the foot. The set.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, he shoots the set. Sorry to interrupt with a stupid joke there, but yeah, he shoots the set.
Nope, you're good. Yeah, he just shoots the set.
And we should mention, like, Foster, in case it wasn't obvious, is, like, heavily just grilling Straker.
Yeah. And Straker's just being really weird and evasive. Mm-hmm. Number 2 style, I mean.
Yeah, well, number 1 was more evasive than number 2 in a way, because you don't even... You watch the whole show...
I don't even think number 1 said anything.
Well, we don't even, like, know who or what number 1 really was, like...
So, anyway, they go into, like, a warehouse. Foster's being really, really, he's being a real nuisance about this whole thing.
He's willing to put his life on the line. At this point, Straker has heavily insinuated that, like, Foster could just be sleeping with the fishes, like, in the next couple minutes. Like, they walk into this, like... Yeah, they walk into this studio-looking thing, and the first thing Straker says is, like, soundproof doors. Couldn't hear a thing from the outside, even if someone were to, like, start yelling and screaming. He doesn't actually say that in that way, but, like, what he's insinuating is that, like, if he were to harm Foster, nobody would ever know.
Yeah, like, you have to wonder, like, what Foster's thought process here is. Because not only then does he follow him into this soundproofed studio, he then goes... I'm not done with you, Straker. I'm going to expose you. I'm going to blow this thing wide open to a man with a gun in his hand where Foster has no defense mechanism at all.
Right. And Straker, as all this is happening, Straker is just blasting Foster with like an industrial grade fan.
I'm like, what the hell was this? Like, what was he doing?
Just some psychological torture, I guess. I don't know.
I didn't understand. I was like, why? What are you doing, Straker? It's just really doubling, tripling even up on the just a prank, know, bro. Yeah. So Straker locks the door. Foster gets to the door and discovers it's locked, and now he's starting to panic. He's like, oh God, what have I done? I'm locked in here with a lunatic. Straker walks up with a gun in his hand, points it at Foster, pulls the trigger and Foster just freaking dies. That's the end of the episode. We just kill Foster.
No.
I'm kidding. What actually happens is Straker reveals the gun is an acoustic prop that you just blow up a predetermined part of the set when you shoot at it. Where the sound waves from the gun blow up the set, but it does nothing to real people.
It shoots it blows a pre-placed charge or something like that. And then Straker's like,
yeah.
All right, you want answers? I'll give you answers. And so they take him into Shadow HQ proper.
Well, Straker takes Foster into his office and he goes, "So you're a test pilot trained to expect the unexpected, right? Well, brace yourself."
Expect this, mother effer. Yeah, and they go down in the elevator. And, Foster, to his credit, he takes all this in stride. I mean,
he's been looking for UFOs for 10 years. At this point, I don't think anything would surprise him. Unless they took him down and like, here's a UFO, Foster. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, he knows, he's finally in. He's finally discovered what he has been looking for a decade.
So Straker's like, "Welcome to Shadow," and Foster's like, "Shadow," and Straker just points at the wall, and then we see on the wall Supreme Headquarters, Air Defense Organization.
Yeah.
Again, the dumbest initialism I've ever seen, but anyway.
It's probably just back created from Shadow. They're probably like, what would be a cool
a acronym
name? Shadow. But what does it stand for?
It actually does sound like somebody took the word Shadow and went, Supreme Headquarters Alien Defense Organization.
But what do we do with the W? Just take it out, type of thing.
Just delete it. No one cares. No one will notice. This is also when it's revealed that for some reason Straker has two offices. I had assumed the most logical thing to do would to just to be using his office, his film executive office, as his shadow office, because it goes down into the shadow base. Why wouldn't you just use it also as the shadow office? But no, he has an entirely separate office on the shadow floor to use.
Yeah, can't be keeping all of that futuristic tech and gadgetry in your actual office, that weird sort of rainbow vomit that was behind Straker.
Yeah, the rainbow television screen. It actually looks really cool in HD, but it's also just kind of why does it exist?
This is the 70s, so tie-dye, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, I was going to say all the cool futuristic tech, also that alcoholic liquid dispenser, even though he doesn't drink,
Yeah, that alcoholism.
That whiskey bourbon dispenser.
That
the whole world would fall apart if
enabling
it knew.
Drink fountain.
You're constantly tempting him.
Anyway, he introduces Foster to the team that's been gaslighting him for the past however many hours, days, whatever.
Yeah, Straker goes, "Look, here's Dr. Fraser." He's like, "Dr. Fraser, come on down."
Remember that blindness that was induced by us?
And then he's like, "Guess what? I'm not done revealing the extent of our gaslighting of you. Guess what? You thought the sister of that test pilot was a real person? Come on down, Shadow Operative number 5. Oh, God.
More props.
Oh, yeah, you thought that air stewardess was an air stewardess? Come on. Even more operatives.
Props further still to Foster. If I was in his shoes, I would have just been like, you know what? Screw all of you. and just attempted to leave or something, at which point I probably would have actually been killed. Imagine if Foster didn't take the job. Okay, we're about to get there, so like, yeah. But imagine if he didn't take the job. Like, well,
yeah, I was just like, I have a note here that's just, well, you know what? I'm fine actually.
Yeah.
You know, now that I know the truth, I'm all right. I'm gonna leave now.
They wouldn't have let him leave. They don't even insinuate it. Straker just says like, we're not going to let you leave.
I guess they don't have that mind erase technology that would have avoided a lot of ire by letting him leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, so they bring in the last few people. Just basically everyone in this episode was an actor playing a part for Foster.
Yeah, they Truman showed his whole life. They prisonered his whole life for the past week.
Yep. Straker reveals, if it wasn't abundantly obvious already, that this was all just a test, and Foster passed with flying colors, and they're going to offer him a job.
Yeah, and he just accepts. And then Straker goes, all right, go with Foster, and then he starts working. I have a note here that I don't know if you felt this way, but you know, Foster walks out with
Freeman.
With Freeman, and they're walking down the corridor, and the music starts to swell. This triumphant music starts swelling, and I'm like, what? Is this like is this like the season finale? We have a new recruit. Like, triumphant music is swelling. The credits are rolling. Like, we've got fanfare. Like, what's happening?
Triumphant music does tend to swell in UFO overall. Like, just the incidental music. Like, as is, like, just this fact alone is typical of shows in general, where it's like, you know, during a scene transition, the incidental music will kick in, or you know, just during a scene where no one's really talking, or it's just someone like kind of traveling or walking somewhere, like the music will kind of come to a head. But like, yeah, in this show in particular, it's very bombastic when it does that sort of just, it goes all out. I've noticed.
Yeah, it just goes full tilt, full force. Remember that ancient internet meme?
And it's the same like, it's the same like motif, like it's the UFO jingle or whatever, so that they use in the
UFO motif, the UFO teeth. You're welcome. Nailed it. And yeah, so that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, they really turned it around, I think, at the end with this reveal. Really put the rest of the episode into perspective and made the more boring bits toward the beginning more bearable in hindsight, in my opinion.
Yeah. It kind of reframes the whole episode in a way, you know?
Yeah, and it definitely sort of adds sort of a meta spin to the episode, right? Where you, as well as Foster, are kind of being, you know, the wool's kind of being pulled over your eyes through the whole thing. You realize at the end that you actually didn't know what was happening, probably just as much as Foster. Which is probably why, like, this episode reminded us so much of The Prisoner, not only just because it was in the same era, you know, only a couple years after The Prisoner, but also, like, just it had that element to it of, like, you, the audience, kind of don't know what's happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we talked about earlier, the episode is definitely from Foster's point of view, right? Like, it's not an objective episode. We're definitely seeing it subjectively. And it would be interesting to rewatch this episode. I'm not going to, but it would be interesting to rewatch this episode knowing that, like, the sister is a shadow agent and knowing that Dr. Fraser is a shadow agent. Because just the way the episode plays out, it's really not obvious that they are. At least I thought it wasn't obvious, because I knew at the end of the episode that Shadow was going to offer Foster a job.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
But I obviously didn't know that, like, Shadow was so ingrained in this whole thing. Like, I thought the Doctor and The sister, like, I thought the sister was genuine. I thought the doctor actually worked for Koufax, and like Koufax was just like trying to cover it up, basically, so that Foster wouldn't blow this whole thing wide open.
Yeah, it's not obvious, like, at all, really. It's one of those usual suspects things, or like Benito Sereno, that novella by Herman Melville or something, that you kind of, that, like, I'm the only one who's read this century, but like, where it's like you kind of, the end sort of puts the rest of it into perspective. And it kind of makes you go like, oh my god, like I need to read this or watch this. I don't know why I said read, but I need to watch this again, knowing all of this.
Right. So, very interesting. I mean, I would say that I didn't find it as exciting as the first episode, but maybe to be expected.
Yeah, I'd say the same, but it's also just like the nature of this episode almost necessarily means that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the structure of this episode necessitates that being true. Although this episode is, and this is the last thing I really have to talk about this episode does kind of perhaps provide a lens into what we can expect from UFO, from the episodes that aren't so focused on UFOs, because, think about last week, the whole episode was about getting this Utronic equipment to be able to detect UFOs. And the whole episode, they were basically being stalked by a UFO. They get the alien at the end, they cut the alien open to find out what's going on when the alien dies. And this episode is like the UFO kind of just incites the events of the episode, but then the rest of the episode isn't really about the UFOs at all, or the UFOs. So perhaps providing a little bit of a view into what we can kind of expect from this show when they're not focusing on UFOs.
Yeah, that's true. And also, just as another like looking forward thing, I looked up some of the episode summaries. Nothing really spoilerish, but just some of the premises of the future episodes, and some of them seem very Sapphire and Steel-esque, honestly. Very PJ Hammond-esque. I'm looking forward to that.
Great. The return of the PJ Hammond-esque term. Was wondering when we would use that again.
Like, there was one... I'm looking at this now, but I can't find it. There's one where, like, it's like... I forget exactly words, but it's something along the lines of, like, Straker gets trapped in, like... within 1 second, and it's like, what? Like, huh?
Although speaking of episodes, we were talking with friend of the show, Steven, and he watched episode 3 on IMDb TV on Amazon, and turns out Amazon just has the episodes in not ATV order, and in fact Amazon has the episodes in just like whatever frickin' order they want, because the order that the episodes are on Amazon doesn't match any of the 5 listed on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, they just have their own order, so that's fine, whatever.
Whatever, we're still sticking to the ATV order, so I guess the point of saying this was to recognize for our listener base that we're about to jump around on Amazon if you're watching there. But I guess that's a good segue into talking Britain's 10 actors, so we can draw this episode to a close. Unless you have anything else to talk about.
No, not really.
All right, well, I think we both looked up 3, so I'll start with Michael Billington, who plays Foster, since he's the most prolific of the 3 I looked up. He was in Magnum, P.I., The Quest. He had a kind of major role in The Spy Who Loved Me, the Bond movie. He was in Z-Cars and The Prisoner as Second Woodland Man in A Change of Mind. He was not in Secret Agent. He was just in The Prisoner. He must have been, like those people who come out of the woods and beat up number 6 when he's like making his boat in the woods. I can't believe I remember that.
Well, we also have Jean Marsh playing Jana, a.k.a. The sister.
The sister, whose name we didn't know the whole episode.
I know, yeah. Woe's Jana, apparently. I mean, Jean Marsh is a pretty prolific actor. Her name definitely, rings a bell, and I guess is a known name. She has over 100 credits, has been acting since the 40s, it looks like. Her first role was in The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby.
Wait, was she Sarah Kingdom in Doctor Who?
Oh, was she? I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, she was Jean Marsh.
Oh, yeah, huh.
Wow, how did I remember that?
Damn. Well, she was also in The Twilight Zone. The Magical World of Disney. Wasn't that like sort of a Disneyland like propaganda like a show or something like that?
I don't know. I actually remember that we've mentioned it on the show before, but I don't remember in what context.
I guess I'll put it in the show notes, but like my memory of what that is that it was just like a TV show dedicated to like talking about how great Disneyland is and trying to get people to go there. Apparently it worked. She was in Cleopatra. She was in Gideon CID. No idea what that is, but she was in it. The Informer, The Saint. Hey, The Saint.
Hey, The Saint.
What else here? Upstairs, Downstairs, 9 to 5, The Love Boat, No Strings. Yeah, she was. Oh, she was also. Yeah, she was. Okay, so in Doctor Who, she was Sarah Kingdom. She was Morgaine in Battlefield. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
that's
then
right.
She was. Hang on. She was Joanna in something. It doesn't say the serial's name, unfortunately. It just says the episode. She played...
What was the name of the episode?
Oh, in The Crusade. She was Joanna in The Crusade.
The Crusade, okay.
Hang on. She's in The Tomorrow People, Ghost Hunter... Yeah, and just a bunch of other stuff. She's acted as recently as 2014, so I think she's still alive. Yeah, she is. Born in 1934, so she's like 90 almost. But yeah, she's still alive.
Russell 2, bring her back for Doctor Who.
Yeah, why the hell not?
That's, wow, that rhymed. Wow. I'm going to start saying that more often for people who were randomly in the classic show. This could be the new subtitle of Inevitable. Russell 2, bring it back for Doctor Who. Bring them back for Doctor Who. All right, well, I looked at Robin Bailey, who played Koufax for like 3 minutes in this episode. Wow, I don't recognize any of these things. Looks like he had some major roles in A Dance to the Music of Time, Rumpole of the Bailey, The Pondles, Mozart, His Life with Music, an adaptation of Bleak House. Sorry, I'm a stranger here myself. ITV Playhouse. Hey, that's something I recognize. I don't know you cared. I didn't know you cared. The Punch Review, Crown Court, North and South, A Legacy. How has this man been in like every obscure British TV show? The Palaces, ONMD, The Newcomers. Oh, he had an uncredited role in You Only Live Twice. The Power Game. Red Cap. I don't recognize. The Adventures of Robin Hood, the 1956 series. Was that the one that Patrick Troughton was in?
I think we always ask that, and we always don't remember which one he was in. I think it was that one.
Well, okay. That's. Yeah, I reached the end of his. Yeah, a lot of things I just like didn't recognize there at all. Oh, this wasn't the Patrick Troughton one, it looks like.
Well, we also had Vladek Shaybal playing... God, what was his name? Douglas Jackson. He also has had a very prolific career. He was in Z-Cars. He was in The Human Jungle. That sounds cool. Maybe some sort of like the Most Dangerous Game or something like that. He was in Secret Agent. He was in Secret Agent in one episode. He was in The Big Spender. Court Martial. Oh, he was in From Russia with Love. Huh.
Wow, a lot of people from Bond movies.
He's also in Casino Royale.
The 60s one? Wow. The weird like parody Bond movie based on an actual Bond book.
He was in Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, aka Doppelganger. I think that's what. Yeah, Doppelganger.
Yeah. Yep. We looked that up last week.
Sort of a precursor to UFO. Looks like UFO is one of his bigger roles. He was in 10 episodes of it. So so some of these characters are not like some of these characters don't appear very much in UFO, you know what I mean? Like Carlin, whatever his name was, is only in 6 episodes total, so.
Yeah, I suppose
he was in that show Spies. It's S**P***Y, yeah, etc., etc.
etc.
Right.
You get the idea.
Rogues Rock. The Sellout. Not the 2015 book, The Sellout, but the 1976 show or movie or whatever this is. He's in the New Avengers. Quest of Eagles. Smiley's People. Yeah, he's in The Bill in 1992. A bunch of other stuff that I didn't even mention, but yeah.
Okay, well, the last person I looked up was Mel Oxley, who's the voice of Sid, uncredited. He has 4 acting credits, so I'll just read all of them. Play for Today, UFO, Target Luna, and The Recording Angels. He was also the narrator for the TV miniseries documentary The Curious Character of Britain. And that's it. That's his whole career right there. Wow. Imagine distilling someone's entire acting career down to the 30 seconds that I just distilled Mel Oxley's down to.
More recognition than most people in human history have ever gotten in life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, fair.
Just being mentioned on a no-name podcast is more recognition than like most of human history will ever get.
Well, we have an email from Steven.
Person here. So similarly...
Oh, yeah. We have one more. I'm sorry. I forgot that I started the people. Well, we both had 3. I forgot I started.
A short one. Paula Lee Hsu. She only has 8 credits. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm not even going to read all 8. but she was a secret agent. And she was in Bandits. She was in Battle Beneath the Earth, which sounds cool, but I don't know what it is. And yeah, I didn't even mention who she played. She played C, that person who puts Foster into a headlock on the plane.
Yeah, spelled TSI. Yeah, so we have an email from Steven, where he surprisingly has a different view on this episode than us. Maybe. UFO exposed. Hey guys, the second UFO episode I actually enjoyed much more than the first one. Gaslighting and cover-ups. Hell yeah. When there was that zoom on Paul's superior's face accompanied by dramatic music, it felt like a soap opera and was just hilarious. Also loved the spinning bookshelf with books flying everywhere. Weirdly, when Paul was taken to The Office, I was commenting about The Office on a friend's post. Also, I watched this on Groundhog Day, so it was nice to see Paul saw a shadow after all. Cheers, Steven. The return of our third co-host. Stunned silence. Yeah, have to agree on the spinning bookshelf. What even was that?
We didn't mention that, but like when you see Foster's books like scattered around the floor, they're all like UFO conspiracy books.
Classic Foster. What a knee slapper that Foster is. Yeah, well, that wraps up the episode, I guess.
Yeah,
if you'd like
we also got a couple comments. Yeah, you're just really preempting things this week, huh? Preemptively.
Yeah, I am. You know what? I'm in charge now. Look at me. I'm the podcast now.
We got a couple comments here on Twitter from Keith. Just general ones about UFO, like in general. So he says in one comment, I love UFO, such a bizarre show, oddly inconsistent but fascinating. I still regret we were not wearing purple wigs on the moon in the 1980s. For all its okay, no, I was going to make a joke there, like actually we weren't, but no, okay, whatever. For all its glitz and camp, it's an oddly bleak show at times. Hope you enjoy it. We are enjoying it, I think, despite what we've maybe said for this episode.
Yeah, despite what we have perhaps indicated.
I guess I'll speak for myself, but I did enjoy this episode. Like, looking back, just overall, I think would say I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, just not as much as episode 1.
Yeah. And then so another comment here from Keith. The show's theme is my ringtone. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I can see that working pretty well, actually. Like, just sort of I don't know. It's a good ringtone, I guess. It's like sort of has that sense of urgency, but is not annoying.
Yeah,
I personally, I don't feel a sense of urgency when someone calls me. I just feel a sense of annoyance. But
yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why my ringtone is the theme tune to Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Why? Because it's an annoying show.
No, because usually because that show ends on like
awkwardness.
It ends on. It ends on like a humorous, like uncomfortable or like ironic scene, and then the theme music kicks in, and the theme music kind of like underscores the like the situational comedy of the scene. So I it's my ringtone tone because I guess if I ever forget to put my phone back on silent, I should say, my phone rings, it'll probably create an awkward or uncomfortable moment. So I figured might as well make it music that underscores the situational comedy of the moment.
Wow.
Also, I've just been too lazy to change it since I changed it to that 5 years ago, so... You know how it goes.
I just use a preset ringtone that was on the phone, and I never even pick up my phone when someone calls, so...
My phone's almost always on silent, so... Like, I almost never hear the ringtone anyway. But, yeah, I guess now we're actually done with the episode, right? Unless you have some other surprise.
No.
Look... We just don't usually get comments on these episodes, okay?
But it really is like clockwork. Like, as soon as we go back to something that was in the 70s from Britain, like we start getting interaction again. Not that it's a bad thing. Not that it's a bad thing at all. But
it just underscores how people only like us for our 70s British sci-fi commentary and nothing else we do. We somehow pigeonholed ourselves. Thanks, guys. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decoratevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, anger, love letters, your thoughts on UFO Exposed. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us anywhere your podcasts are found at Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook. Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYT Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time, we're going to be watching The Cat with 10 Lives. I'm just reading the little one-sentence summary here on Wikipedia, and it sounds wild. A Shadow Interceptor pilot is placed under a hypnotic spell by an alien-influenced cat. But until then, the end.